Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every woman's life where she has to pause, breathe, and ask herself, rediscover your worth. Healing begins with remembering who you are, not what you were to someone else. ChatGPT said, "Let me tell you something that might sound simple, but it's life changing when you truly understand it. You have to rediscover your worth." Now, I'm not talking about the kind of surface level confidence where you just dress up and post a picture to feel better. I mean going deep, doing the internal work to remember who you were before the heartbreak, before the doubts, before someone made you question your value. See, most people don't lose themselves all at once. It happens slowly. You start compromising on the little things, your standards, your voice, your time, until one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. You become so wrapped up in who they needed you to be, you forget who you were created to be. Now listen, I'm not saying love is wrong. Love is powerful, but it becomes a problem when it makes you forget that you were valuable before they ever showed up. Your worth is not assigned by someone else's ability to see it. Let me say that again, your worth is not assigned by someone else's ability to recognize it. Some people can only love you at the level of their own healing. That's not a reflection of your deficiency. That's a reflection of their limitation. When you rediscover your worth, you stop begging, you stop chasing, you stop explaining to people why they should choose you. You start moving differently. You walk into rooms with quiet confidence. You set boundaries without guilt. You don't tolerate energy that disturbs your peace because now you know who you are, and you know that losing someone who couldn't appreciate you is not your loss. Psychologically, people gravitate to what they can't control and what they can't predict. When you stand tall in your self-respect and purpose, they feel that shift. The one who left will sense that something about you is different, but by then, you're not waiting to be chosen, you've already chosen yourself. And that's the moment everything changes. When you finally remember who you are, you become unforgettable, not to them, but to yourself. Silence is power. Sometimes your silence is louder than any argument. Let your absence speak. Let me tell you something that most people overlook when it comes to relationships. Silence is power. Now, I know the world tells you to speak up, to fight for what you want, to keep explaining yourself until you're heard. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. Just fall all the way back and let your absence do the talking. Here's the truth. People don't hear words when they're not ready to listen. You can scream your value from the rooftops, but if someone's ego is louder than your voice, it won't land. That's why silence, strategic, intentional silence, is one of the most underrated tools in your growth. Not the kind of silence that's rooted in hurt, but the kind rooted in healing. Because once you've done the work on yourself, you don't need to prove your worth with arguments. Your peace becomes louder than your pain ever was. Now, from a psychological standpoint, silence creates discomfort not for you, but for them. It interrupts the pattern. When someone is used to you reaching out, chasing, explaining, your silence becomes a mirror. It forces them to confront the absence of your energy. And if they ever truly valued you, that void will echo. But here's what's deeper. Silence also brings you clarity. It gives you the space to reset your mind, reconnect with your intuition, and stop mistaking familiarity for connection. Just because you're used to someone doesn't mean they're good for your soul. And you can't find the strength to walk away if you're always in emotional noise. There's also something philosophical about it. Think about it. In the stillness, you reclaim control. You take your power back by refusing to argue for your own humanity. You stop showing up to conversations that are beneath your growth. And most importantly, you stop confusing being loud with being heard. So stop explaining yourself to people who already made up their mind about you. Let your evolution speak. Let your silence become the space where your power returns, because the loudest message you'll ever send is the one you deliver in total silence. Rebuild with purpose. Use the pain to fuel personal development, not revenge. Now let's get one thing straight. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you're broken. Pain is part of life. What separates people who stay stuck from people who level up is what they do with that pain. You've got to rebuild, but you can't rebuild by accident. You have to rebuild with purpose. See, too many people try to move on by pretending nothing happened. They jump into distractions, chase attention, or try to make them jealous. But that ain't real growth. That's just noise. That's just dressing up your pain in new clothes. Purposeful rebuilding is different. It's intentional. It's about looking at the wreckage of what fell apart and saying, okay, what did this teach me? What can I use from this to make something better? Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Growth hurts. You're gonna have nights when you feel like you're not enough. Days when the loneliness creeps in. But that's the part most people skip, the discomfort, because real rebuilding starts when you stop avoiding the truth. And the truth is, who you become after the heartbreak is more important than who hurt you. Here's the thing, every wound has wisdom in it. The heartbreak didn't come to destroy you. It came to wake you up, to shake loose the parts of you that were settling, to get you to remember your calling. So when I say rebuild with purpose, I mean take that energy you were giving to someone else and put it into your goals. Your health, your vision, your spiritual growth. That's when the shift happens. You start creating a life that isn't just healed, it's designed. Designed around your values, your peace, your future. And let me drop this on you. When you rebuild from the inside out, people feel it. You don't have to announce it. Your energy will walk in the room before you do. That same person who walked away. They'll feel the shift. But by then, you'll be building something too powerful to turn around for someone who couldn't see your value the first time. So use the pain. Don't waste it, because the best version of you is waiting on the other side of what broke you. Glow from the inside out when you grow emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You radiate an energy that can't be ignored. Let me tell you what happens when you start putting in that real work. Not the kind that looks good online, but the kind that transforms you from the inside out. You begin to glow. And I'm not talking about a new hairstyle or fancy outfit. I'm talking about that internal glow, the one that comes from peace, clarity, self-respect, and growth. That glow is magnetic. It's untouchable, and you can't fake it. See, people think glow-ups are all about appearances. But the truth is, the most powerful glow-up happens in your mind and your spirit. When you've been through something and chose to heal, not hate, that energy starts to radiate. You don't even have to say a word. Your energy introduces your new standard. What's deep is that this glow comes when you stop looking for validation and start creating alignment. You align your habits with your goals. You align your peace with your priorities. You stop entertaining chaos just because it feels familiar. And when you make those quiet decisions behind the scenes, your whole life starts to reflect it. Not overnight, but gradually, consistently, undeniably. Now, psychologically speaking, people pick up on energy even before they understand it. That's why when you grow, evolve, and center yourself, folks who once overlooked you start circling back. Why? Because energy don't lie. The version of you that was waiting for their attention is gone. You've become someone they can't reach on the same frequency. And that shift, that's what makes people wonder what changed. But here's the part you've got to hold on to. You didn't glow up to prove anything. You did it because you refused to stay stuck in a version of yourself that was built around surviving. Now you're thriving, and thriving looks good on you. So stop looking back. Stop dimming your light for someone who wasn't ready for your shine. Keep building, keep evolving, keep choosing peace over panic, purpose over pettiness. Because the moment you start glowing from within, the world, and anyone who took you for granted, can't help but notice. Stop chasing, start choosing. You are not meant to beg for love. Become the chooser, not the chaser. Now let's get to the real shift, the one that flips the whole game. At some point, you've got to stop chasing and start choosing. That's the difference between living in desperation and living in dignity. When you're chasing somebody, their love, their time, their validation, you're handing them power they never earn. You're making someone the prize when you forgot you were one to begin with. See, chasing comes from lack. It comes from a mindset that says, if I don't keep trying, I'll lose them. But let's break that down. If you have to chase someone to keep them, did you ever really have them? And more importantly, do they even deserve a front row seat in your life if they're only staying because you're constantly proving your worth? Here's what most folks miss choosing is about reclaiming authority. It's about standing in your values and saying, I don't just want love, I want alignment. I want reciprocity. I want respect. You're not out here begging to be seen. You're deciding who gets access to your time, your energy, your spirit. That's power. That's maturity. That's growth. Now, philosophically, when you move from chasing to choosing, something in the universe shifts. It's like you stop playing the game and start setting the rules. You begin attracting people and opportunities that match your mindset, not your wounds. Because chasing is loud, it's chaotic, it's exhausting, but choosing is quiet, calm, solid. It doesn't need applause because it's rooted in self-trust. And here's the psychological angle. When people see you stop chasing, it flips a switch in them. It creates curiosity, doubt, regret, because when you were chasing, they knew they had you. But when you choose you, now they have to wonder if you're even still available. That's when people start circling back. That's when they suddenly realize what they lost. But by then, you're not waiting, you're living. So don't just sit around hoping they pick you. This isn't a game of tag. You're not chasing anything anymore. Because the moment you stop chasing and start choosing, you stop being an option and start becoming the standard. Live like you've already moved on. The best revenge is peace, progress, and prosperity.